In the 1990s, evening colleges were discontinued for professional courses, and I happened to be studying law during the evening college. That was in Havana College. Havana College is in was functioning in the premises of United Mission School. That is a school during daytimes, and evening times it was a law college. In fact, the premises almost resemble the one for a school only. And law college, of course, they may be having a professional college. The seats, design of the seats and the benches must be different. But anyway, for evening college students, that is sufficient because study is more important than that infrastructure. But that school was good, in fact, and it is situated on the Machine Road. The Machine Road is almost that particular road. The property, that lane, in fact, maybe the road adjacent to that is also called Machine Road. That lane is property of the church. Property of the most of the properties belong to the church, and they have let it out for commercial complexes and big ones, one or two, and beyond that Mission College also, the Mission Road also, in fact, commercial complexes and schools. School is there. Two schools are there, in fact, big ones, big compounds. Of course, Christian missionaries that started the schools in India, in fact, in a big way. In a big way, and there also very few students they could admit. That was the best thing anyway in that age when schools were not in existence. Buildings were not much. So Christian schools were good one. Now also they have the tradition of continuing. This tradition is still continuing, in fact, in India. Christian schools. And so in that United Mission School, evening college, Havanur. But the thing is now I rue my fate. I should have studied the course diligently, but I have not attended the classes due to the one reason that for exam the criteria of attendance is not taken into account there. But why this anomaly? They should enforce the rules correctly. Government, in fact, why they are not taking the full measures. But later on they have discontinued the evening colleges. Why it should be? That is placing restriction on the people's aspirations to learn new things. In fact, it is not causing any problems also. In the professional course, they can create lawyers or lawyers also. That batch, I think a lot of people must have taken up the law profession, evening college. And had I attended the class, maybe I would have got through, but it is not that I would have taken up the work as barrister. Or at least that knowledge will be there. Academic qualification is there, and knowledge of what do you call this subject. In fact, in India, legal aspects are unknown to the people at large. It is restricted to the community of lawyers, and of course the police department who comes in because they have to know about that what do you call sections in the law, whether it pertains to this section, that section. But it need not be at their fingertip. Always there is the reference book, but they should be knowledgeable. Not all in the police department, but every station, police station, at least there should be one knowledgeable person. Even otherwise, what they do, they note down the cases, check up with their head offices, sort of things. That sort of arrangement also will be there. But why did they stop it? Whether it is taken on an all India basis or whether it is restricted to Karnataka only. Because in Tamil Nadu there are a lot of universities, private universities. In Karnataka there is just one. Bangalore University. In Tamil Nadu, there is a prolification of universities, and some of them are government owned, some of them are private owned, and of course, so naturally, they are boasting also. In fact, one of the DMK ministers, he was ridiculing the Biharis, and he was applauding people, their own people, because they are getting to far off places, they are getting good employments, they are holding higher places. And he was boasting also, but rightfully so or not, we do not know, because many Indians are holding high positions. It doesn't concern the regions. Maybe Bihar is also holding high positions. In fact, when you talk about Bihar, Bihar was having the first university, most probably not in India, but across compared to the world. Even before the Chinese had, they had a very big university. What is this? Nalanda University. Nalanda University was one of the best one during the ancient times, and it is hard to uh, take up any other case, any other place where there was a university. Nalanda University does not exist today, but it ceased to exist after the Muslim invasion. In fact, the Muslim rulers burnt out that university itself, along with the books, scriptures, and whatever literary works were there. And that has come to an end, because it must have existed even today. And along with the ruins, even the Biharis went into the background. And in fact, that way, this DMK minister didn't know about this. In fact, they were having a lot of literary people, university, big kingdoms, empires, and an emperor who could visualize the establishment of an university. But today it is a rank opposite. It is one of the populous countries, one of the most illiterate states, and the people there, of course, recently we have seen a very bad precedent being set. They were offered just prior to the elections. The women folk were offered 10,000 rupees. But in fact, why they are coming to power this way? Coming to power should not be the given importance. President, it is the welfare of the people. For the welfare of the people you come. And when you're giving money to them to cast vote, what happens is the democracy is belittled. In fact, on this occasion, it should have been a democratic country maintaining democratic traditions in 1789, when it got freedom. So from that time it is democracy, and there has not been any disturbance. They should have come out with this and said, what is happening in your country, Mr. Narendra Modi? You happen to be my best friend, and I am telling it to you in all the meetings, public meetings, and announcing it almost regularly. But this is not expected from a democratic institution. They should voice their concern to keep up the democratic tradition alive, but that does not happen. And in fact, requests can be raised. I have also raised to one of the biggest democracies in the world, America. I raised a request, but this request will not even reach them, in fact. But I think I have that right to raise the request, or I do not have the right. But I do not have the right in the sense it will become a fiction, it will become sort of a literature, that's all. So, but in this case what happens is, in individual case, of course, fine. In this case, they should have certainly raised that objection. Maintain the democratic tradition. As a friendly manner also they could have come out. One of the best the statesmanship, in fact, when they have come out with this. In fact, people who have studied history to an extent also will believe that will have the desire that Bihar comes up as to this past glory and eschew the present situation, because it seems our Bihar citizens are going around the country seeking employment, and in the lower run they are seeking employment. It is not that should have befallen Bihar, because they have fallen from the grace after the Muslim invasion. Fine, now it is not so. Now always we can pick up the thread. The only thing is this should be in the back of the mind. And India, of course, they are not making any efforts to mm, kill this hope in the Biharis. At least some of them, foreign countries, they can take initiative, and develop that region, and not in financial matters, but in literary matters, and in the mental makeup of the people, mental makeup of the people. In fact, when I was studying in college, there was a Bihari student. In fact, and there was a group of Biharis, group of not one Bihari, group of Biharis. Of course, they had come over to study Bangalore, the state which was having what is this reconnecting. Whether it was line, I do not know. I should repeat the same thing as things. And university, when you talk, the neighboring states, of course, we are talking about that law courses in 1990, it was discontinued in Karnataka, or whether it is throughout India, professional courses, evening college. And there was an evening college in the premises of the United Mission School, and that lane happened to be the property, most of them are property of the church. In fact, the Christian missionaries that set up educational institutions in India way back before the educational institution was set up by the natives, and that's still that tradition is being continued. In the same line, there are two big ones, two schools there, United Mission School and another school. And the properties, they have the commercial properties, and as well as this. But the evening college, Havanur Evening College, Havanur was a public figure. Maybe he was an MLA or an MP. Either way, that was the best thing. But in fact, I have not attended the classes due to the fact that attendance was not reckoned for taking up the exam. But this anomaly they should have strictly followed the rules. Attendance is required, so that students who aspire to clear the exam has to attend the classes, not just take guides, purchase cheap guides or costly guides for that matter. A reference book also. And in fact, legal matters are very much required to be learnt. And even in evening colleges, they may not take up the their profession as barristers. Evening college, of course, the knowledge, development of the knowledge, and a subject which is not well known to the people across the state, across the state, in fact. So that it is very good, and having knowledge about that legalities will prevent a lot of anomalies. And legally illiterate is a drawback. And presently there are the police department and the legal professionals who are expected to know about this, the legal nuances and the legal statutes, the sections and other things. But now what happened was one of the Tamil Nadu ministers pointed out that Biharis are fanning out to different part of the countries, and they are coming to their own state, Tamil Nadu, seeking employment in the lower rank. But Tamil Nadu, of course, the minister was boasting that people are holding high position across the world, and he has pointed out some of the people also. He has named some of the people. But the Matas minister, Tamil Nadu minister, DMK minister, um, wasn't aware of the fact that Bihar was one of the first state when it was in way back in the ancient periods to have had an university when even the Chinese did not have one. And it was a very big university, Nalanda University. There are a lot of literary works, and people from across the world were coming over there to study. And subsequently, it was destroyed during the invasion of by the Muslim invaders, and all of the literary works were lost, and even the buildings were razed to the ground. And this was the condition that existed. And later on, it was a drawback, and Bihar fell down. And the happenings of after that is a sad reminder of that fact. Bihar is considered as the illiterate, most populous country, and even in the election there is malpractices since long, since Indian independence. And recently one got to see that, notice that a malpractice being performed in the full public view, and of course there was no objections raised. And what I consider is that USA, being one of the most democratic countries, maintaining the democratic tradition since it got independence in the 1700s, may have taken up the matter and not really proceeded, but at least voiced out its concern that in Bihar, democratic elections are not being conducted as it should be, and they should have reprimanded the prime minister. In fact, that is not done. In fact, had he was done this, the president must have regarded as one of the big, good statesmen. It was not done. So, in fact, even private individuals, as an individual, they raised a request to the. He was looking for help, and he was just going around the world and voicing its concern. That is a destruction of human sensibilities and other things. Even I have raised a request to the president, but what happens is that request has definitely not gone to his notice, or it must have fizzled away. But the important thing to note is that people are raising their requests. So such is the horror of that nation. So, in any case, in this case, whether raising the request is illegal action, it cannot be considered, because it goes a fizzled out one thing, or it goes as some sort of a literary piece, literary piece, or some sort of fictional act. Okay. Otherwise, so Bihar, one of the Bihar student, or a section group of Biharis were studying in the college. It is a sad fact. Some of them are going out to other parts of the country to learn, and that was the place where university had come up. Now effort should be made to bring back the past glory to Bihar, and so that population problem is reduced, and subsequently unemployment. And of course, these people will not be going to Tamil Nadu and other states seeking employment. Mm. It is quite possible that this is on the way, but some sort of impetus has to be given, and we see that impetus from the foreign countries almost concern the commercial. Earlier, it was a literary, a very good thing, literary, more than what is help India is getting today by way of commercialization. Of course, they are also deriving their benefit. They are finding markets. They're setting up their software industries, back office industries. They are providing a lot of employment to the people. Or more than this, if they come forward and take up the task of uplifting Bihar to the ancient status when it was literally very much high, that will be the best thing to happen, more than providing employment to the aliens in their own land and providing offshore employment. So that, because India has grossly failed in this respect, they are not bothered to revert Bihar back to its original glory, original glory, and so it has happened. In fact, it was Bihar. Ashoka, King Ashoka was from Bihar only. Bihar had very large empires. So Ashoka, Kanishka, so many empires. When other state, of course, down south there, that Ashoka is mentioned about the Cholas in his inscription. So it is not that the Ashoka rule has to be brought, but a literary work. What literary work existed, people have to be literate in the sense, not what is existing today, the literary class, but the mindset. The mind has to be in the proper direction, a humanity, and a new way. So that way they have that sufficient resources at their hands, the missionaries, when they set up. But it seems now they have given up that task. Whatever has existed from the ancient times, they are continuing with that. Otherwise, that is not there. In fact, they are not carrying on with that work because sovereign governments have taken over and they are establishing their educational institutions. They are setting up their own literary activities. But it is in India itself. It's a lot of it is gives a lot of desirable things have to happen. Undesirable things are happening in this work also, as everyone knows about the different syllabus that is being followed and the quality of education and schools and different sorts of. So it is a right time to improve, and the best state to start with is Bihar. And as far as the legal courses are concerned, the government can reconsider the opening up of evening colleges for study of law. It will go a long way to help the people to gain knowledge in legal courses. In fact, legal courses, which is people are really illiterate about the legal courses, the sections in the law, even the constitutional provisions, where it need not be learned only fundamental rights and fundamental duties. And they may be there. Section 144. Now we don't know. BNSS, what is that section 144? Well, some of the sections they will be in the mind. Otherwise, nothing else. And it is an apt time to introduce this one. In neighboring states, they have a lot of universities. In Karnataka, this is the Bangalore University. In neighboring states, they have the government universities, private universities, and they are running distant education also, courses in distant education. And a lot of activities are happening there. But when you tell that Tamil Nadu also, in spite of having a lot of those universities, in spite of the people gaining gainful employment, in spite of the people holding top posts, whether it is really developed, you see the political speeches, and people thronging the places of during elections. What is what is happening in Karur? In fact, a lot of people had given up their life, lost their life in a stampede. So, what has this universities done? What has this education done except providing gainful employment, uplifting people, some of them in higher places? What has this done? So, that is the education which is required, instilling that confidence, instilling that mentality that is grossly absent. That's why people are thronged that place, especially youngsters, to see one person hear the speech. Almost all the political meetings, they have a lot of people thronging, even if it is midnight, even if it is any time of the day and night. So that mentality, what exactly is the word used for that mentality? Mm, that should come. That should come to the people. Then only there is a proper education. So maybe an apt time for likes of the missionaries that set up the schools in India to set up one and it uplifts people morality, so that they do not throng the meetings the way they done in Karur, and it is carried on to the public administration. Public administration officials are also very important persons to imbibe this morality and desist from corrupt practices, uh, for the frivolous nature of having fun, embarking on criminal behaviors, and some of them are making their way to the everyday chores of life across the sections of the people, and it has caught the fancy of the whole of the population, in fact. This sort of thing, it is being carried out. So it is a apt time for them to come over, and the second coming of them, and uplift the people. Start with, of course, it is the Bihar. So another university of the sort of Nalanda would be established in Bihar. People are really morally on the high, legally on the high, and real humanity follows. And people do not carry that complaints to the American make an American president. Of course, there will not be any outcome of this. In fact, it is hard to believe, hard to even guess that the American president will take up such cases. It will not, when it is not going to the person. What is the how can one expect it to happen? But even if it comes, they will not take up these things unless from the grassroots that moral education, legal education is carried out. People are well versed with the sections of the legal, and it is not restricted to the police department and the professionals practicing barrister. It goes across to the general public, so that things will be, India will be on a higher level in all respects.